Through my final code here for my Faller final, which is my computer science app. So this is my code for my game here. So there's a lot of code. I'm going to take you through it pretty quickly and just kind of highlight some of the major points of it. So I have a few global variables here to do, establish our currency and our var speed. I created the var stick and the var rock because these are construction functions that represent our coins and our rocks in our game. And these are going to be changed every time we call a different point of our variable, of our this.x or this.y. So we need these for the stick and the rock. And again, we did this for the player. And we're going to be playing as our avatar Aqualine Seed here. So we use this.x, this.y in the sticks and the rocks because these are two variables that will change accordingly to our character. Use player prototype left and right to adjust the speed of that variable as the player moves left and right on the screen. I also use the prototype.draw function to establish a constraint for our player. And then I use player.prototype check for stick grab, which is going to basically inherit our values that we already have assigned to our coin and to our player. And it's basically going to add one to this.stick or this.rock if our stick.x, which is our coin, is greater than or equal to our player.x. And these are the parameters to basically recognize if our player hits a stick or a coin. Down here later we have the creation of our for loop, and these are for the sticks and for the rocks. So assuming that var I equals 0, I is less than 15 because there's only 15 coins in the game. We're going to push and create a new one in a new rock. I decided to use 788 and 5000 accordingly because of the fact that my game is constantly flowing, and we want to set them below the screen and flow up. So I use pretty big numbers because I didn't want to have them all on the screen at once. And there's 550 rocks because we need a lot of rocks in my game because they're constantly going throughout the game. This array right here is just as to be used as aesthetically on our screen. The array is aligned up on the side of the screen here, and it's just only on 0 and 365 because of the fact that it's placed on the right and the left. So we have our splashing here, which represents our var button, and it's going to represent our lava faller title. I use the button.draw prototype function, which is going to basically assign a mouse click function to call it. And I'm only calling the mouse click function in the current scene, which is the splash scene, because we only want to call it on current scene 2 because I'm only using the mouse click function and the mouse on the splash screen. So we have our var scene 1 function, which represents the bulk of my program. I use these four loops to represent the check for stick grab and check for rock grab, which is going to establish when our rock and our stick get hit, and it's going to call it by our player. And then we have a few conditionals here. If the player rock is greater than 0, obviously if player.rock is greater than 0, our player hit a rock. We want current scene 3. And that's going to prompt us to our losing screen. These variables here, or these if statements, just adjust our speed. So if the player 6 is 1, our speed will equal 3 or 4. And then we have the same thing here for the winning screen. Our key is press is just going to move the player left or right. And then we're going to draw our player here again. And then we have var scene 2 and 3, which is just our game over scene, as you can see here, or our you win scene. And then last we have our draw function, which is just a few if statements, which just represent that if we want a current scene as 1, it's going to be our splash scene. If not, our scene 1, which is our bulk. If our scene is 3, or if our scene is 2, our bulk. And then if our scene is 3, we want scene 2, which is our game over. And if current scene 4 is called, then scene 3, which is our you win.